200 families that they were deported with me. They all on my mind, and I feel like I do something about some of them in Auschwitz, they didn't make a list. The people were sent to the gas chamber, just like my grandparents, my parents, my relatives. It was no list. They did the list who survived, and they wanted to use for work. And eventually the Nazis get payment for the work, so they needed the list, but this who went to the gas chamber, no list. So I feel that not even a record what happened to them. So all what we can do, and also now you're doing, keep the memory alive. This is like feeling better about the pain. The pain is always video. Like yesterday I look at this word what I said here I mentioned, like in the book also, how was in the camp, people always talking about how bad, how was mistreated, but the little things like we want to be clean, these people didn't understand. So I mentioned in the highest number of punishment we received for wanting to be clean. Even my sister and myself, who were so afraid of going against the rules, had taken the chance to have overall to be washed. We heard that girls in the washroom were willing to wash overalls for a day's portion of bread. Maybe people don't understand English, so I am not understand. To understand English what I am reading? Anyway, I wanted to say that we even sacrificed our bread and gave our overall to be washed. And we were always worrying the next day. We were no overalls, and what happened? We supposed to sleep, but sometimes they called us to an appeal, or it was an air raid, so we would be in a big trouble if we didn't have the overall. But it was so important for us to be clean. And then when we cleaned, we had our picture of, how my mother and grandmother would be happy that we did this. We could never accept the fact that they were not longer in the living. It was just impossible. Healthy people, we went together, and as we walked, they said, you go this side, and they continued to walk, and they walked like you couldn't imagine that what happened to them. Even now, with me, I can never go to the gas chamber. I never read about it. I can't handle it. So it's this the way of if something hurts you, do something about it. And this is what I feel better. And I'm very pleased that you're doing all this work. Sincerely, it touches me that my book was the first step, and it's continued. Thank you very much.
What do you think about these stumbling blocks? So I'm really interested in how the survivors think about commemorating, because I think it's always a very emotional topic and not easy to deal with it.
The commemoration which help us to maybe watch out. We know what could happen, what's the next step. We know how easy it's the way to Auschwitz. It's not, so it is always good to remember and to write about it. This survivors very appreciated. This is the only tools with what we have, that it should never happen again. What happened to my parents shouldn't happen to my children and my grandchildren. This is our greatest fear, that when we went through it, we know how easy it could happen to what happened to my grandmother. It could happen to me as a grandmother, we don't know. And unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't have to be only Jewish, just take a group that for some reason don't like them, and the road is very, very short to Auschwitz for every group, for everything. So, well, thank you very much. It's very important, the work what you're doing. Nothing more important can be done than bringing the people what happened to them and learning from the past for the future. These things. I always mention this when we were arrived to Auschwitz and we had to walk, probably it's in my book, but have 5 in line. I was walking next to, the men were separated first, and I saw my father and grandfather for a minute before the crowd swallowed them. They disappeared, and then we were going together with my mother and my grandmother holding in my mother's arm, my little grandmother that she taught me German a little bit, that I didn't succeed so much because I don't know, but she tried. And she was going with my mother, and suddenly, as we walking, they told me and my sister, go to this side. And we didn't know what happened, go to this side. And my mother had to continue to walk. So I said, my mother's desperate expression and my grandmother's, as her little frame disappeared in the distance, it's frozen in my heart and with me all my life. I could never forget this scene, how my mother, desperate look of despair, what's happening, and my grandmother's helplessness, how they had to walk and we didn't see them anymore. So this is in my heart, frozen in my heart and with me all my life. And I don't want anybody else happen, and the work what you're doing, it might not be victims like this. Very good.
Is there a habit you developed there which still affects your daily life nowadays? For example, we talked to a person which was imprisoned by the Soviets after war, and he still chews 38 times before he chokes because he was used to not have so much to eat, and therefore he still nowadays, although he has so much to eat, he still kept his habit he developed there. Do you have something similar or something?
See, every survivor has something which from the past which scared him. For me, even so I was hungry, the food, memory of the food didn't remain in my mind. What remained in my mind each time I said, I will be separated from my sister. This was my greatest concern because we knew already we separated from our parents and never see them, and I was lucky I was with my sister. So anytime it was a selection, like a selection was another name for sending people who weak, sending to Auschwitz or the gas chamber. So each selection, when I went with my sister went ahead, and when she passed, my heart stopped that I'm going to be with her, or I would send it to I won't be with her, would send it to somewhere else. And my sister, or I was the first one and my sister had the same thought. So this remained with me all my life, this I can get. But the food I forget. Emotional things remains with you longer, like physical, somehow it's easier to forget. I don't remember the hunger so much. Everybody talks about the hunger, it's true, but it went, but the emotional, it remains with you. So I imagine that certain survivors have this, and also one fact was important, we were younger, 14, 15, we still were, we can't ready for change. Older people would be harder. So for us wasn't so hard to start again. My sister, she married in Israel, married an Israel born, her husband was born in Israel. So they try not to talk about the Holocaust so much. But I had a worse experience because I was in the United States and I went to work in a library, and it was a nice Jewish co-worker when I came, so she gave me a compliment. She said, "Oh, you are so nice, you are too nice to be a survivor." So I said, "What you mean?" Because only the pushy people survived, the nice people died. Only this is not true because you will have to, but this was the conception, so this was waiting for us. I said, only it had nothing to do with it, but people imagine that you had to do something to survive. Unfortunately, people said if they staying in this line, you'll be better. Nobody knew it. Nobody knew what it was. but I was hit with this estimate of the survivors. So I said, no, I'm not going to be a survivor. Why I have to say I'm survival and I'm getting comment like this? I said, no, I won't be a survivor. And then I worked in the public library in New York, and we worked at night. And then some gentleman came in with high, with strong boots, I worked at the information desk, and he told me, all these books on the Holocaust, show me one who was there. And then I said, okay, here is my time, either I be quiet or I say it. And I said, sir, you're looking at one. And he looked at me and turned around, not a word, and he left. And from there I said, no, Zahava, you can't just deny the Holocaust, and you will be like I could be, because I had no number. So I could get away like not a survival. My husband did have a number, so for him it would be harder. So at that time I started to write, and I came back, I said, no, this I can't handle it. They tell me it's never happened. I couldn't handle it. And it was one thing, I started to short articles, and I wrote the first book of my hometown, like what happened, and some certain bad comment brings good result. They say sometimes with the bad some good comes out. So that this guy who commented that old stories, it made me think, now how you have to come, you have to say what happened, and this what motivated me. Thank you very much. I see you thinking about it. Okay, very good.
How do you perceive current political affairs like racism? Do you seriously fear that something similar to the Second World War or the National Socialism might happen again?
But it touches the way it goes against developing. But I hope maybe people will realize that to do it again, it won't lead to what could it be leading. But the signs are here, we know it. With all these comments and everything. For me, I think that in Germany now, the school children, they going to visit concentration camp. I think it's in the curriculum or something. I think it's very good, but I hear it's controversial, that not everybody thinks so. But I believe it is good, also show them stuff before it gets so bad. Yeah, thank you very much. It's a real current problem. It's a problem that, unfortunately, just the future will bring the answer, how it will lead to.
Did you experience anti-Semitism in the US after the Second World War II?
I cannot say I experienced anti-Semitism because I don't want to experience and I'm not looking for it. But some certain comments you can, but the government anti-Semitism, this is what it counts. Then they make the anti-Jewish laws and all this. In Hungary also they say they had nothing to do with the Holocaust. And we know when we deported to Auschwitz, we only saw Hungarian soldiers, we didn't saw German. So what, it's not so simple. But the government arranged it, and even, I don't say, even my neighbors wouldn't want it, but they had nothing to say. It was ordered by the government. So.
Als sie das erste Mal in Markkleeberg waren, man hat ihnen angesehen, dass sie so viel Angst oder Überwindung brauchten. Also sie mussten sich sehr überwinden, an diesen Ort zu kommen, wo sie so viele schlimme Sachen erlebt haben. Für mich war es dann ein wunderbares Erlebnis, dass wir miteinander sprechen konnten und ein Verhältnis bekamen, dass wir uns als normale Leute begegnen durften.
Yes, for us was also very special. Dr. Klaasse was very kind to us. We came in and we were afraid of how the German people will react to us. And Dr. Klaasse right away, very kind, he was very nice, accepting us and also slowly the people. And this is the way we started to know who are the German people that we were always afraid of. And we get to know, so it was very important that Dr. Klaasse accepted us, and he was, we felt like, thanks to him, we felt at home. Also, we visited your home, this one. Even my sister remembers when she came back, you invited to your home, and she was a nice reception. So we came here fearfully, but then when we get here, we could put down our arms to that it's okay. Everybody was kind, and we could forget somehow. Talking to young people, we just saw the goodwill and we don't remember the past. And for me it helps very much. I'm looking the goodwill of the people, and I don't looking back what happened and what. I'm just seeing the situation, and I'm grateful for it. And maybe it helps me. I think I'm grateful that I have this attitude, that I see the good in the situation, and I'm not looking back to history, but it's not here, and what was bad. I'm looking what is here, and thank God I see the good, and I'm pleased, and that's why I came back a few times to Markkleeberg. I was back when I wrote my book. I came back a few times, and I am very sorry that Dr. Klaasse is not here, such a young person. Dr. Klaasse gave me the honorary citizenship, and he said such a nice speech. I was very touched. It was very important. So it was nice to come home for me. It wasn't so scary, wasn't so bad. And I'm happy to be here also, and these nice students, they are asking questions, and they with us in the program, so I feel like it was worthwhile. And also, if you want to something church, you can write a book maybe. This is instead of going to killing somebody, write a book. It will be an easier way.
Ich möchte trotzdem nochmal auch als Staatsministerin sagen, dass wir in einer Zeit leben, wo wir wirklich höllisch aufpassen müssen.